Okay. Hi guys. I get we can start now. Hi guys. We can start now, I guess. Let me share all the question. Okay, I'll give you all 10 minutes. Just try doing this question. And once you're done, raise your hands up. And then we'll be starting to discuss the question. Let me on the timer. Okay, your time is up. Let's check your answers. Chun, chun, chun. Yes, let's check your answers. So, how was this question? Was it easy or was it hard? Or was it safe? All good, Zail. Better. The voice is back. Yes, the voice is back. Alhamdulillah. Anyways, let's start. That's fine, Aisha. Let's fight it. Okay. First question. So the question is saying consider the following database tables extracted from the database. What do you call of the database of ABC Private Education Institute? Understand tables and the relationships and answer following questions. Yeah, Umar, exactly. Inshallah. Then. Okay, write two tables suitable for the foreign key with the name of the corresponding. Write two fields suitable for the foreign key with the name of the corresponding table. And the second question is saying write down the appropriate primary key of the above student underscore subject table. Okay. Now, if you look at the question, the first question, they're asking you to select the foreign key, right? Normally, when you take a table, what do you call the, if you want to find the foreign key, first of all, these foreign keys are actually what of another table. It's another table's what? If you take foreign keys are another table's what? Correct. It's another table's primary key. Okay. So for example, imagine you have these three tables, right? So imagine in the student table, we have a primary key. For example, let's say student table. And let's say in student table, we have a primary key. When that primary key, now primary key is a unique field in the table. Okay. So for example, let's say in a student table, we have a specific field. That's the primary key. Okay. This field, when it's a student's table, is it a foreign key? This unique field, when it is in the student's table, is it a foreign key? No. Suppose, let's say this field, the primary key field of the student table, let's say that field, if that field is mentioned in the subject table as well, okay? So in the subject table, will it be a foreign key? The primary key of the student table, if it is mentioned in the subject table, will it be a foreign key? Yes, it can be. If this primary key of the student table, if it is mentioned in the student underscore subject table, if it's mentioned in this table, can it be a foreign key? Exactly. Okay. So how you find out foreign keys? First of all, what you're going to do is you're going to find out the primary key of a table. After you find the primary key, you're going to see is this primary key mentioned in another table. So first of all, let's find out the primary keys. In the student table, how many fields are there? In the student table, how many fields do we have? One, two, three, four, five. Exactly. We have five fields in the student's table. Out of these five fields, which field is more suitable to consider as a unique field? Like out of all these five columns, which one you think is more suitable to be considered as a unique field, which is like unique for every record as a unique value in that field? Exactly. Out of the given fields, the most suitable field is going to be the student number. Because even though the given data, there is no repetition, practically two students can have the same name. Practically, two students can have the same date of birth. Practically, two students can have the same gender. And practically, two students can have the same contact number. Imagine there's twins. If there are twins, the date of birth is going to be same, gender is going to be same, telephone number is same. Name might be different. But sometimes you might notice in your class, sometimes there might be two students with the same name. Okay. Even though they're two different people, the names can be same. So if you take student number, like the admission number of a school, every student is going to get a unique number. So the unique field there is going to be student number. This is going to be the primary key. Similarly, what is the primary key of the subject table? Correct. In the subject table, the primary key is what? It's the subject number. This is the primary key in the subject table. Now, once we know the primary key, using this data, finding the foreign key is easy. Okay. Now, let's figure out starting from students table. Okay. In students table, we know student number is a primary key. No. Do we have the student number field? Do we have that field in the subject table? The student number, that field, do we have in the subject table? No. Do we have that field in the student underscore subject table? Yes, you can see it's mentioned here. So if a primary key is mentioned in another table, it becomes what key? If there's a primary key field, and if that field is mentioned on another table, the other table it becomes what? Correct. In the other table, it becomes a foreign key. Okay, it becomes a foreign key. So one of the foreign keys we have is student number in the student underscore subject table. Similarly, what is that? Now we found out the primary key of the subject table is subject number. Do we have the subject number field in another table? Yes, you can see the subject number field is mentioned in the student underscore subject table. So this primary key which you had here, if it was mentioned in another table, again here also it's going to be the foreign key. So the answers you can mention for that question are, one, you can mention student underscore number in what do you call student underscore subject table. The second foreign key we have is subject underscore number. So there are two different foreign keys. Okay. It's two different foreign keys we have. So you can mention the answers as, let's say, student underscore number in student underscore subject table. This is one possible answer. The second possible answer we have is subject underscore number in student underscore subject table. These are the two foreign keys we actually have. Is that clear of you? Okay, so if you got the answers correct, put 1 mark each. If you have any questions, stop the questions in the. So not 1 mark each, put half marks each. If you got this answer correctly, put half marks each. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. The question B, they are saying student underscore subject table. So, we have the primary subject, student underscore subject table. They are asking what is the primary key of the table. Now, this database is talking about, you can see students' details. Okay, it's talking about, it's institute. Okay, an institute, all the students that are registered. Sorry, there was a network issue. Yeah, coming back to the topic. So if you take the student, if you look at the database, you can see there is one table containing all the students' details. Like in this institute, all the students who are registered, their details are there in this table. The second table contains all the details about what are the subjects available in this institutes. Like, for example, there is English, it seems, there's ICT, it seems. What are the available subjects they have mentioned. The third table is talking about the enrollment. For example, if let's say you have a student called Anupama. Okay. Let's say Anupama is going to join the English course. And let's say Anupama is going to join what do you call ICT course. Then what's going to happen is we're going to mention Anupama student number and English subject student number. Then we're going to mention again Anupama student number and ICT subject student number. Something like that. You're going to mention every student number and the subject number they are enrolling for. That kind of a table is there in foreign key. So that kind of a structure should be there in this third table. So if you look at the third table, tell me, in the third table, do we have actually a primary key or do we have a composite primary key? No, composite primary key is a type of primary key only. But what's special about composite primary key is you have a collection of fields. Instead of using only one field, you have more than one field. So look at this third table and tell me what type of primary key is there here. Just a normal primary key or is it a composite primary key? Yes. You can see this data and this data are the same. Or subject number, if you say this data and this data, you can see it's repeating. So if you take only student number, you can see there's a repetition. If you take only subject number, there is a repetition. So primary key values can't repeat. But if you take both the fields together, the student number and subject number field, if you take both of them together, you will notice everything is unique. Like for example, here also you have S01, here also you have S01. But you can see both are not the same. Here S01 with subject 1, here S01 with subject 4. Okay, even though the values are repeating, it's not repeating as a pair. Okay, even if you take S02 as well, even though S02 is repeating here S02 and subject 1, here S02 and subject 3. As a pair, they're not repeating. Okay, so composite primary key is where without taking only one field, you're going to take more than one field, let's say as a group, as a pair, and you're going to form the primary key, right? So in this table, to form the primary key, we'll take both the fields, that is student number and the subject number. Both has to be taken together. Is that clear of you? And a special name for such primary key we gives as a composite primary key. So if you got that answer, put 1 mark there. Maulana, it will be starting in May, let's say. Let's see. Roman number 2. Which table should be joined to run a query to find the amount that Anupama has to pay to the institute? Okay. Normally in database, the word query means talking about, when you take the word called query, what we're talking about is obtaining data from the database. Okay, when you say query, what the idea of query is obtaining data. Now, if you want to obtain the value, if you want to obtain the amount Anupama has to pay to the institute, let's say you were given the task, you were given this database like this, okay, and let's say you were given a task to tell how much Anupama has to pay. Now, if you were given the task and you were given these 3 tables as well, which table are you going to go to first? I'm going to make your work easy. Let me label this table. Let me call this table 1. Let me call this table 2, and let me call this table 3. Tell me, out of these 3 tables, which table are you going to go to first? You want to find Anupama's, how much Anupama has to pay for the institute. If you want to find this, if you are going to find this, okay, you have given these 3 tables and you're supposed to find. Exactly. You'll be going to the first table. You'll go to the first table and you are going to figure out what is Anupama's student number. Now, I know Anupama's student number is S01. After I know this data, where should I go next? Which table should I go second? Exactly. Now I have to go for the third table. In the third, I have to go and see student number S01. What are the subjects she has enrolled for? So in the given scenario, you can see S01 has enrolled for how many subjects? How many subjects has Anupama enrolled for? The student S01 is Anupama, no? Yes. She has enrolled for subject 1 and she has enrolled for subject 4. So which means she has enrolled for two subjects. Now, if you want to find out how much is the fees for these two subjects, which table we have to go to? Table 1, table 2, or table 3? Exactly. If you go to table 2, you can see subject 1's fees is actually 15,000 and subject 4's fees is actually again 15,000. So based on that, you know that Anupama has to pay 30,000 for the institute. Now to find this answer 30,000, did you have to go only through the first table, only through the second table, only through the third table, or did you have to go through all three tables? When you have to find practically, what are the tables you have to go through? Exactly. When you had to find it practically, you went through all three tables. So when they are talking about this, what are the tables that has to be joined? Again, all three tables. So when they are talking about join, they're asking what has to be connected. Like what are the tables you have to go through? Okay. So in this case, you have to go through all three tables. So you mention all three tables name. Don't just mention all three tables. Mention all three tables names. For example, here student, comma subject. Should we write 30,002? No. We have to write only the tables because the question is asking what are the tables that has to be joined? So only the tables you have to mention. So student table, subject table, and student underscore subject table. This is going to be your answer. Just mention all three tables named like this. Is that clear, all of it? Should we need to mention the order? No. Order is not compulsory. You can mention random ones. That's fine. If you got that correct, put 2 marks there. If you have any questions, drop that question in the chat. Not yet, Leela. Thanks so much. Can we write as all the tables? No, that's what I said, man. You can't write as all the tables. Again, it depends on who is marking your paper. To be in the safe side, write all the tables name. Sandeepa's twin sister, Renuka, was newly enrolled to the institute to study technology. Which table should be updated? Okay, so there is a new student who is going to join, okay, called Renuka, and she's going to join the technology subject. First of all, tell me, if I'm going to include this new student, the day I'm going to include a data about new student, which table I have to update? Table 1, table 2, or table 3? Or if there's more tables, you can tell that as well. If you are in only 2 tables, no marks. You write all 3 tables name to get the marks in the Roman number 2. Exactly. If there is a new student joining, the new student's details, you keep it in the, or you record it in the student table, right? Student table, right? So first of all, we are updated student table. That's one thing. Okay. Now, apart from mentioning that there is a new student called Renuka joining, they have also mentioned that she's going to join, she's going to enroll for technology. To show that part, that she's enrolling for technology, what are the tables I have to update? Again, you can tell me using numbers like 1, 2, 3, using those, you can tell me. To show that Renuka is enrolling for this subject, I'm talking about enrolling part. For the enrolling part, what are the tables get updated? Okay, some of you all said 1, some of you all said 2, majority of you all said 3. Those who said 1, tell me what is that update you're doing in the first table. Those who said 2, what is the update you're doing in the second table? Like what should you update in those 2 tables? If you take the second table, it contains details about subjects. Now, are we talking about a new I'm not asking what are the tables we have to go through. I'm asking what are the tables we have to update. Like, for example, when I'm talking update, there are 2 possible things. The 2 possible things is entering a new record, which means you're going to go and enter new data here, 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 and here. This is one possible answer. Okay, if you say updating, you're going to enter new record. Or else you're going to update existing data, which means you're going to change an existing data. So in this scenario, should we enter new record or should we change an existing data? Is there a situation where we do that for the subject table? No, because you can see technology is already there. There is nothing that has to be modified here, and there is nothing about entering new data. So the only table you update to show that is the student underscore subject table. Okay. So overall, these are the two tables we have to update for that given scenario. Okay. We're going to update the student table to tell that there's a new student joining. We're going to update the student underscore subject to tell that that new student is enrolling for the subject. In the first table, we'll update her, blah, blah, blah. No, that's what I said. I broke this question in two pieces. My first question is asking you to show that there's a new student enrolling, which table has to get updated. For that, majority of yours is student table. My second question is to show the enrollment part, which table I update. So to show the enrollment part, only the student underscore subject update. So overall, these are the two tables I have to update. Is that clear, all of you? Good. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Write the new record or records that has to be added to the relevant tables, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now we have having two tables we're going to update. So let's show how that has to get updated. First of all, let's mention student table value. So I'm going to mention here. Okay, I don't have space, so I'm going to mention it separately here. Okay. So I'm going to mention, first of all, we are going to update the student table. Now, if you look at the student table, the first record has about the student number. Have they told you what is new student's number? The new student's number, is it given as a data? No. But can we guess it? Is it a value that can be guessed? Yes, we can guess it. So based on the given data, tell me, what do you think is more suitable as a student number for the new student? Correct. The most suitable number is going to be S06. So what we're going to do is we're going to record that here. So I'm going to mention it S06. Then the second field contains student's name. Now here they have mentioned the question that what is student's name? It's mentioned in the question. What is her name? Correct. The new student's name is Renuka. So I'm going to mention that. Now, if you take this question, they have not directly told what is Renuka's date of birth, gender, telephone number. They're not directly told. But they have told that Renuka is actually Sandeepa's twin sister. So if it's twin sister, can we consider the date of birth, gender, and telephone number? Can we consider these three data for that? Yes. Okay. Because it's a twin sister, obviously the date of birth is going to be the same, gender is going to be the same, and the telephone number is going to be the same. Because of that, I'm going to mention those three data like 95/6/12. And the next column contains gender. I'm going to mention that as female. Next column contains the telephone number 078 765 3021. This is the contact number. So this is how you update the student table. Now in that question, apart from updating the student table, we had to also update the student underscore subject table. So I'm going to mention that as well. First, you mention the table name like this. Put an arrowhead. In brackets, mention every field's value. The first field contains student number. So Renuka's student number, you can see we gave as S06. So I'm going to mention S06. Second field contains subject number. The question has mentioned she's going to join the technology subject. Tell me, what is the subject number for technology? Telephone number could be different now. Can we guess that? Normally, if when you take your schools, we normally include the parents' contact number. Like when you take education kind of scenarios, after you like become bigger, they like give you a like unique number. So in this situation, we are going to consider that, let's say it's parents' number, something like that. Yes, technology subject number is subject 3. So I'm going to mention here sub 3. If they suppose if they give it time, can put null. I mean, practically it doesn't come like that, but yeah. So this is how you update the what do you called in Roman number 3 B part. This is how you show the update. Okay. So in Roman number 3, for A part, for mentioning both the tables, again, you mention exactly only these two tables. If you mention only one table, or if you mention all three tables, you don't get the marks here. Okay. In Roman number 3, if you only one table, you don't get marks. Exactly if you mention these two tables, you get 1 mark here. And then in question B, if you had mentioned this part correctly, you get half marks. If you mention this part correctly, you this is how the marks is going to be broken down. Is that clear, all of you? Got it? If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Then question number 4. In question number 4, they are saying Praneeth is willing to change the subject from technology to ICT. Which table needs to be updated? Okay. Now, first of all, tell me, to show that Praneeth is going to change from technology to ICT, we have to show this no. First of all, tell me, is Praneeth a registered student? Look at the database and tell me, is Praneeth actually an existing student? Yes, you can see Praneeth is an existing student. And the subject called technology and the subject called ICT, are they already registered subjects? Like, are they existing subjects? Correct. You can see a technology and ICT, they are existing subjects. Now, to show that Praneeth is joining technology, in which table would we have recorded that? Table 1, table 2, table 3? Exactly. You can see in the table 3, you can see S05. Praneeth is attending subject number 3. We have mentioned here. Now change it from that to show that what do you call Praneeth is attending the ICT subject. We are updated in this third table only. So the answer for this question A is going to be student underscore subject table. And how you show the update is just mention the table name, that is student underscore subject, arrowhead, and every field's value. So here the first field contains student number, and Praneeth's student number is S05. Second field contains subject number. Subject number for ICT is actually, you can see ICT is subject 2. So I'm going to mention that as sub 2. This is how you show the updated records there. Is this clear, all of you? So if you had mentioned the table name correctly, again, only this table. If you mention more than that, if you mention 2 tables, 3 tables name, no marks. If you mention only this table's name, put 1 mark here. And if you mention the update properly, put 1 mark here. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Others, just mark and go. Put your marks. Then question number 5. At the end of the year, so shouldn't we write all the fields? The student underscore subject has only 2 fields now. These are table we updated. We updated the third table. Third field table has only 2 fields. So I mentioned the value for 2 fields. Got it? Nothing happens to the technology part. Actually, you all have not learned how to delete records. Like, for example, how to remove a record from a table. That is not mentioned. You already have learned how to update a record. So, therefore, we don't have to bother about that part. You can ignore that. So, just mention only this part. Got it? Because the question is, see, if you look at the question properly, they're asking, write the new record that has to be added. They're not talking about removing the existing record. They just wanted the new record. So, new record that has to be added is what? S05 subject 2. Okay. Okay. The question 5 is saying, at the end of the year, the database should be changed to show the result obtained by the students for the subjects they are studying. Okay. So you want to show the results of the subject they're studying. Write your best suggestion for this. Now, if you take a student, what do you call? You can say student is enrolling for a course, right? Look at the question and tell me here. If a student, based on the question, tell me, if a student is, let's say, doing ICT as a subject, will he be having, will he be facing only one exam or will he be facing two exams? He'll be facing only one exam. Because if you read the question properly, they're not saying at the end of every year. Okay, they're saying, I mean, they're not telling that at the end of every year there's going to be exam. They're just saying that at the end of the year, the database has to be changed. They're not saying at the end of the year there's an exam. Okay, but there are two ways you can interpret this. There are two ways you can interpret this. The two ways you can interpret this is, some of you can interpret this as after every year. Okay, the two ways you can interpret this is, one person can interpret this in that after every year there is an exam. Another person can interpret this is after every completion of the course there is an exam. Okay, so for both there are two different approaches. Why I'm saying there's both two different approaches means, imagine they're saying after every year there's an exam. Okay, let's say at the end of every year there's an exam. Now, if they're saying at the end of every year there's an exam, then based on that, tell me, what do you call the, for ICT, how many exams will be there? If they're saying after every year there's an exam, look at this data and tell me, for ICT, how many exams would be there? Exactly. ICT will have two exams. For English, how many exams will be there in total? Correct. English will have only one exam. Okay. So if you're going to have an exam after every year, if there's going to be an exam, then what will happen is the most suitable approach is to create a new table. Okay. To create a new table called result. We can create a new table called result table. And the result table, what we can do is, okay, we can have a new table called result table. And in this result table, we can have this data such as, for example, the student's number, like which student is doing the exam, and then the subject number, for which subject is he doing the exam, and then the year as well, like which year he's doing the exam. Like for example, 2001, no, 2003, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 2013, the 14, the exactly which year he's doing the exam. So what will happen is like let's say there's a person who's doing a degree in 2024 and 25. The 24 exam will have student number, subject number, and 2024 as a year. When he's doing the final exam, it will be as 2025. Okay. This is one approach if you're thinking that every year there's going to be exam. So if there's going to be exam every year, then this is the most suitable approach. You're going to create a new table called result table. But without every year having an exam, if they're going to have an exam only at the end of the course, is it necessary to create a new table? What do you think? If they're going to have an exam only at the end of the course, is it necessary to have a new table? No. We can do something else. What can we do? I'll come to it, Hannah, wait. If it's going to be at the end of the year, I mean, at the end of the course only, there's going to be only one exam. Like, for example, ICT after the 2 years only the exam is. English after the first year only the exam is. Technology after the second year only exam is. Like, after you complete the course only, there's going to be exam. If that's the situation, without creating a new table, what is the other option I have? Yes, I can add a new field. The new field has to be added to which table? First table, second table, or third table? Correct. We can add a new field here called, let's say, result. And we can tell for this enrollment, the student number one, he's studying subject number one. No? When he studied subject number one, what was his result? When he studied subject number four, what was his results? Likewise, for every subject you are enrolled, what was the result you got? You can include that as a new field. So again, it depends on how you perceive this. Now, the most suitable perception here is like, let me read it properly and tell you how it should be. Right, start. At the end of the year, database should be changed to show the results obtained by students for the subject they are studying. Okay, the way you read it, it gives you the idea that there is a exam for the subject they are studying, which means at the end of the course only there is an exam. That's the idea of the question. So because the question gives that kind of idea, you can give the answer as what do you call add a new field, add a new field to student underscore subject table, or add a new field called result. Okay, add a new field called result to student underscore subject table. This is an answer you can give. So basically, these two answers are two different perspectives. This answer is going to be a perspective where if you think that at the end of the course only there is one exam, khalas. These answer you get if you feel like at the end of every year there is an exam. So technically, they have to give marks for both. Both are correct. Either you can mention this, add a new field called result, for that also you get marks. Without mentioning that, if you mention, we create a new table called result table, for that also you get marks. Both are valid answers. Is that clear, all of you? Got it? So if you had mentioned either one of these answers, put 2 marks for that. No, you don't have to mention both, either one of them. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Others tell me out of 10 marks, how many marks you all get? I wrote everything except here. How many marks then? You mean you have mentioned we have to create a new table called result? Put full marks, but again, just modify your answer to have the part called here. I wrote as add a new table for result display. Add a new table for result display will get full marks. That's fine. Add a new table called result is fine. That's answer is correct. You might get marks, full marks, but then do these modifications for your answer as well. Like add a new table called result with the fields, student number, subject number here. We should add result field in the result table. No, in the result table, it have 3 fields. If you're going to have a new table called result table has to have 3 fields. But without creating a new table, if you want to just add a new field only, then the new field you can add for the third table. Will we get 2 marks for each MCQ? Right? No, 1 mark for one MCQ. And this is not MCQ, I mean, this is part 2 question. Why 3 fields? That's what I said. I mean, the main reason you will be creating a new table, now the purpose for creating a new table is, let's say we have I-Series doing for 2 years now. If I-Series is a 2 years course, at the end of the first year, there's going to be one exam. At the end of the second year, there's going to be another exam. So if you don't include this year field, how are you going to identify which exam was done in the first year and which exam was done in the second year? Got it? Actually, I missed one more. I missed one field. I missed one field. I missed one field. I'm missing one field in the result table. If I mention student number, subject number here, this is not enough. I'm missing one more field in the result table. What is it? Exactly. The main thing, the result is not there. So apart from here, I have another field called result as well. Sorry. So if you had mentioned new table, then the new table has to have these 4 fields. There has to be 4 fields. Student number, subject number, the year he did the exam, and the result. Shakir, no. I informed about that yesterday in yesterday's class. If you're not there, go and watch the recording. Okay, perfect. Before I go for the next question, I'll just give you all time to pray and come. You can do the next question perfectly. So you can pray and come to the middle of the next question. The next question we have is programming question. Let me scroll it properly. So the time now is 6:53. I'll give you 5 minutes to pray and 10 minutes to this question. So basically 15. I'll give you 17 minutes so you can pray and come into this question. And those are going to pray. Others, once you're done with this question, you can have. Let me put the timer for 17 minutes. For a second, could I get the previous screen here? In the revision class, I done with this part of the lesson long time back. Database we did earlier, before programming. Before HTML, we did database, man. We did spreadsheet first. We did database second. A flowchart. Flowchart, we have done selection type flowchart. We have not done repetition. We repetition type flowchart actually. It might be a bit different. So, anyways, attempt it. I'll explain. So 15 minutes के अंदर 55, 17. Yes. Just try, just try. Hmm. Once you're done with the question, raise your hands up. Those who are done with the question, raise your hands up. Huh? You have 1 minute remaining. What was the question? Okay, let's check your answer. So in this question, they are saying grade 11 students of a school built a program to input their subject marks and print the total. Here, the marks of 9 subjects are entered as whole numbers, and the range of marks is 0 to 100. Okay, so they are saying they're going to input 9 subjects marks, it seems. 9 subjects marks. And they have mentioned that these marks is actually a, first thing, it's a whole number. Second thing is it's between 0 to 100. From 0 to 100. Enter 0 if any student is not present for the relevant subject. Okay, so suppose let's say a student is absent for the exam, then his marks is going to be 0. The following flowchart is provided for building the program, and you are assigned to fill in the blanks A to H in it. Identify and write the correct terms labels A to H. Okay. Now, imagine what you called, you were supposed to find the marks. Okay. You were supposed to find the total marks. You can see the end of the day, the output of this program is to print the total marks. You can see the output of this program is to print the total marks. And then to print this total marks, we are going to get how many subjects marks? Okay, why is it stuck? Exactly. You're going to get 9 subjects marks. Okay. You're going to get 9 subjects marks as an input. And what you're going to output is the total marks. Now imagine we're going to play that like a game here. Okay. Imagine we're going to do that here. Now I'm going to tell you that I'll be telling you 9 subjects marks. Okay. And after I tell you all 9 subjects marks, you have to tell me the total. That is the game we're going to play. Before I start telling the first subject's marks, okay, before I start in the first subject's marks, in your head, what are you going to have as the total marks? So what we're going to do here is, I'm going to tell you 9 subjects marks. After I tell you all 9 subjects marks, you have to give me the total marks. Okay. So before I tell 9 subjects marks, it your, if, for example, I'm going to give you 9 subjects marks. Before I give these 9 subjects marks, if I ask you, okay, what is the total? What's going to be your answer? Before I tell 9 subjects. Before I give you the marks of 9 subjects, in your head, what is the total you're going to have? Correct. In your head, your total is going to be 0, right? Yes or no? Before I tell all the 9 subjects marks, in your head, isn't the total 0? It is 0. Now, I'm going to give you 9 subjects marks. Let me write this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to give you 9 subjects. Let's say I told you the first subject's marks is 50. Now, in your head, what is the value you're going to keep in your head? All this time your head at 0. Now, what's your head going to have? In your head, you're going to keep the number 50. I'm telling you, the second subject's marks is 80. Now, what's going to be there in your head? Exactly. Now, what you're doing in your head is basically you're calculating the total marks. Because why? That's the answer I'm expecting. Now, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 9 subjects marks. After I give you all 9 subjects marks, you're going to give me the total marks. So you don't have to bother about what these 9 subjects marks are. You just have to be bothered about the total. So what you're going to do is after I give 80 as the second subject's marks, now you're going to say, okay, the total up to now is 50 plus 80. So 50 plus 80 is 130. Is this part clear, all of you? Got it? Yes or no? Now, I'm going to give the third subject's marks. I am saying the third subject, the student has got 70 marks. After I told 70, what's going to be the value in your head? In your head, you're calculating the total value. Huh? So in your head, what's going to be the value? Again, in your head, you're calculating the total. Yes. So you're going to add this 70 here, and now you're doing up to now, the total is 200 marks. Okay, up to now, the total is 200 marks. Now I'm saying that for the fourth subject, he got only 70, let's say 5 marks. He has got very bad marks for the fourth subject. So now what's going to be the total? Correct. Now in your head, you'll be having the value as 205. Now I'm saying for the fifth subject, he has got, let's say, 60 marks. Now what's going to be the total? Maybe, maybe. Two of you are like, maybe that 5 marks is for singular. Exactly. Now his total is going to be 265. And now let's say for the next subject, he got around 50 marks. Another subject was 50 marks. Correct. It's going to be 350. For the seventh subject, he has got, let's say, 90 marks for the total. Yes, sir. 405 marks. And the eight subjects, let's say we have got around 65 marks. No? Correct. 470 marks. And the last subject, he has got 30 marks. Total? Correct. It's 500 marks. Now, what you all are doing here is you all are calculating total marks. So when you were calculating total marks, before I gave a value, before I gave a number, before I gave the first subject's marks, what was the initial marks that was there in your head? Exactly. Initially it was 0. Now, when you were finding this answer called 500, did you wait till I tell all nine subjects marks, and after that did you add the marks, or did you add the marks then and there? Do you add the marks then and there, or did you wait till the end? How did you add the marks? Exactly. You added the marks then and there. Whenever I said the input, whenever I gave you the marks, we're going to add it. Whenever I gave you the marks, we're going to add it. Now we are going to apply this idea into programming. Now, what we do practically in reality, the same way how your brain is going to work in reality, we are going to show this in a program. So in this program, you can see initially we are saying total marks is equal to something. What was the total marks initially? Practically, tell me. We did practically, no? So when we started, what was the total marks initially before we give any marks? Initially, what was the total marks? Exactly. Initially, the total marks is actually 0. So A is going to be 0. Is that part clear of you? Okay. One thing, this shape, what do you call? You can see in B, they use a rectangle, which in B is talking about a process. I'll just pause for P. Just ignore B for the moment. If you come to C, you can see we're going to check is something less than or equal to 9. Now tell me, apart from knowing in this scenario, apart from knowing the marks of every subject, apart from knowing the total marks of all the subjects, what is another thing you have to keep in your mind to make sure you all get correct number of inputs? Now, what I'll be doing is I'll be giving you marks. One after the other, I'll be just giving you marks. To make sure you exactly get only 9 marks and not 10 marks, 11 marks, 12 marks, to make sure you get exactly 9 number of marks, what should you keep in your mind? The number of what? Exactly. You have to keep in your mind the number of marks you got or the number of subjects you got. Because if you don't know the number of subjects you got, if you're not keeping in your mind how many marks you got from me, how many subjects marks you got from me, will you be able to know when should you stop asking me the marks and tell me the answer? Now, what's going to happen is actually here, what should happen is you're going to ask me a marks. I'll be like, okay, sir, give me a marks. Give me a marks. You're going to ask me the question. And after I give you the answer, after I give the 9 subjects marks, you're going to give me the total. So if you don't know, now you're asking me the first subject's marks, the second subject's marks, third subject. If you don't know which subject marks you're asking at the moment, will you know when to stop and tell the correct final answer? No, you will not know. So therefore, apart from knowing all these stuffs, we have to know the number of subjects we're going to ask as well. So what I'm going to do is for B, I'm going to mention, I'm going to have the number of subjects. Just go through the whole program and see, is there any somewhere else, have they given like a variable name to store the subjects, number of subjects we're having? Just go through the whole program and see, somewhere or the other, have they already given a name for that variable? Yes, they have. What is the name of that variable? Correct. Here you can see subject count killer, they have given a name. Okay. You can see in this program, there's a variable called total mark here. There's a variable called mark here. Apart from total mark and mark, you can see third variable you can see is subject count. So how do you identify a variable? Is there are two ways you can identify a variable. Variables are used to store values. Normally, you might identify a variable used in an equation. For example, your total marks is equal to something. Wherever you see equal symbol, it's equation. So one place you can identify a variable is mostly in a name. So in equation, if they're used as a name, that name is going to be a variable. In that name, we're going to store a value. Apart from equation, you might notice a variable in an input statement as well. These are the two ways you can identify variables in a pseudocode or flowchart. So you can see here we have input mark now. So what's going to happen is under the name called mark, we're going to store the subject's marks. Under the name called total marks, we're going to store the total value. Under this name called subject count, we're going to notice how many, like which subject marks did we get at the moment. Are we still in the first round, second round, third round? That kind of idea. Is that clear, all of you? So what I'm going to do for this B statement is I'm going to say B is basically going to have this equation saying, okay, B is going to have an equation. So what's B going to have is B is going to have the equation saying subject count is equal to 1. Which means now we are in the round 1. Now we are getting the first subject's marks. Okay. And in C, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check in C, is subject count less than or equal to 9? To make sure that I get only 9 subjects marks, I'm going to have this, what do you call in C, I'm going to say, is subject count less than or equal to 9? So what's going to happen is every time the program runs, okay, after I get the marks, after I add it to the total, after all these stuffs are done, when I'm going for the next round, I'll be like, okay, now I'm going to go for the second subject's marks. I'm going to go for the third subject's marks. I will tell you how we go for the next round. So just pause that for a moment. But tell me, are you all clear with these three paths? Yes or no for ABC? I'll come for others later, but are you all clear with ABC? I put is marks less than or equal to 100. Is it wrong? No, no, they're asking a blank for C. They're not asking a blank for the whole condition. They've already given half of the blank. They're saying something is less than or equal to 9. So to figure out what is less than or equal to 9. So what is the thing related number 9? I put it as B. B is a rectangle, right? In a flowchart, rectangle is it used for a condition? If you mention something like is marks less than or equal to 100, this is a condition. For condition, we use rhombus. If it's a rectangle, it's a process. Normally, it will be an equation in your scenario. Correct? So you can say I mentioned an equation here. This is a process. Count equal to 0. Wrong. No? If you're going to have subject count as 0, here you can see they have mentioned less than or equal to 9. So if it's going to be 0 and you're going to increase by 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. You're going to come to this instruction called input marks when subject count is having these values. So if you count how many values are there here, there are 10 values here. So if you mention subject count equal to 0, this instruction called input marks, we will be coming to this instruction 10 times. So that's wrong. Got it? Okay, next. Now you can see you're having this condition to check. Okay, again, the purpose of this condition is to make sure that we get all 9 subjects marks. Huh? So here you can see the next instruction saying to input the marks. So we're getting the first subject's marks now. And then you can see a condition. Here we have a condition. In this condition, you can see they use an AND operator. Okay. AND operator means in the left hand side, you will have one condition. In the right hand side, you have another condition. Now, imagine in a rhombus. Now, rhombus is used itself one whole condition. Okay. Now, in between this condition, and the whole thing is one condition, and in this condition, if they use an AND operator, normally in programming, when you take operators, we have different types of operators. If you take operators, I'll write it separately here. If you take operators, there are different types of operators. Okay. One type of operator is something called as arithmetic operators. One of the types of operators we have is arithmetic operators. Now, arithmetic operators are used to perform calculations. For example, you have this addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, okay, then let's say mod, div. These all are called as arithmetic operators. These are used to perform calculations. So you might use them in between numbers, or you might use them in between values. For example, if I use addition in between 5 and 5, what's going to be the result? In between these two numbers, if I use 5 plus the addition operator, what's going to be the result? The result is going to be 10. So normally these operators, arithmetic operators, we use it in between numbers. Okay. And it's used to perform calculations. Just like we have arithmetic operators, there's another type of operators called as conditional operators. So the conditional operators we have are AND, OR, and NOT. Okay. Sorry, these are not conditional operators, these are called logical operators. Next, the third one is conditional operators. These are called logical operators. Okay, these are called logical operators. So if you take a logical operator, for a logical operator, the input has to be a condition. Okay, so the input has to be a whether it's true or false. Like for example, if you have something if you have something called true and true, then the result of this, it'll use logic gates idea. Okay, using logic gates idea, tell me for an AND gate, if one of the input is true, other input is also true, what will be the overall result of this? It's going to be true. So basically, if you take these logical operators, they don't take arithmetic operators, they take numbers, no. Logical operators, they take Boolean values as inputs. Basically, they take true and false. Now, if you're wondering, how can we get true and false? True and false you can obtain from conditions. That is where third fellow comes. Actually, that's the second one. I should have thought the logical operator is third fellow. Anyways, we have a type of operator called conditional operators. Now, conditional operators are the less than symbol, greater than symbol, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. In your syllabus, this symbol is called not equal. Huh? These are the conditional operators. So, for example, if you have something like this, if you have 5 less than 3, this is a condition. You're going to check is 5 less than 3. Now, tell me when I'm checking is 5 less than 3, is this condition going to give me true or is this condition going to give me false? If you have the question is 5 less than 3, true or false? That's going to, is 5 less than 3, yes or no? Tell me yes or no, first of all. If I come and ask you this question, is 5 less than 3, yes or no? The people who are saying yes, you'll have to go from Montessori. Huh? Is 5 less than 3? You have 5 toffees, your friend has 3 toffees. Do you have less toffees than your friends? No. It's going to give you no. So tell me, no means what? No is giving the idea of true or is no giving the idea of false? No gives idea as false. Okay. So normally these conditional operators, if when you use it in between numbers like this, it will give you a Boolean value like this, false or true. Is that part clear? Tell me, are you clear about the 3 types of operators? Exactly. So for example, imagine you have something is 5 less than 3, not. What's going to happen is, you're going to first of all check is 5 less than 3. Okay. When you check is 5 less than 3, you know it's going to give you false. Okay. So you're going to have not false. So if you look at this operator, not is, if you look at the operator, not is actually a logical operator. Okay, not is actually a logical operator. And for this logical operator, you can see the input is actually false. Now tell me, not gate, if the input is false, what will be the output? The overall result is going to be true. So if you have a condition, this whole thing is one condition. Huh? So this whole thing is one condition. This whole thing is one condition. So in this condition, when you have not 5 is less than 3, first of all, you check is 5 less than 3 and write that value. Then you put not false, the result of not false true. So the result of this condition is going to be true. And this is how the process is going to work down. Is that clear, all of you? So for logical operators, most of the input will be always a condition. For conditional operators and arithmetic operators, the input will always be a number. Is that clear, all of you? Number or value or something like that. Perfect. So if you have this equation, if you have this condition, let's call and something, that means in between and here there has to be one condition and here there has to be another condition. So we are going to figure out what are these two conditions. Now, if you look at this whole question, they're telling that the marks has to be between 0 to 100. The marks has to be between 0 to 100. Now tell me, look at the condition operators and tell me, is there one operator we can use, okay, out of this operator, is there one operator we can use to figure out is a number between 0 to 100, is a marks between 0 to 100 kilo? Using one operator, can you do that? No. We have used two different operators. So how we are going to do that is, there are, if you can, when you're reading this, okay, for example, let's say you're going to read this, let me write it here. You want the marks to be between 0 and 100, no? So you can break this into two things. You can break this into, first of all, saying is marks greater than 0. Second is marks less than or equal to 100. Less than or equal, less than or equal. Okay. So how you're going to do it is something like this. The two conditions you're going to have is, the first condition is going to be, is marks greater than 0? Is the marks greater than 0? This is the first condition you're going to have. So is marks greater than 0 and is marks, greater than or equal to 0? Is marks greater than or equal to 0? This is one condition. The next condition is marks less than or equal to 100? In between these two conditions, I'll have the AND operator. So by this, I can check, is it a valid marks? Is this part clear, all of you? Yes or no? You can swap, you can put 100 here and 0 here, that's not a problem. You can swap D and E, I mean. So for D and E, the what do you call, the labels are going to represent. For D and E you can tell, or I'll write separately. For D, I'm going to write, is marks less than or equal to, is marks greater than or equal to 0? For E, I'm going to mention, is marks less than or equal to 100? Is that clear, all of you? Up to here, I are clear how I found out the labels. So, but then how do we check whether the students came or not? We are making a program here, man, to enter the marks. So you're going to, here, grade level students of school build a program to input the subject's marks. So the question I said, the input is only subject's marks. Apart from subject's marks, there's no other inputs we have. And if the, what do you call, student was absent, enter 0. So 0 is the input. The input is not going to be present absent. The input is going to be 0. Got it? Okay, perfect. Now, after you find that, after you, what do you call, let's say this condition you're going to check basically, is it a valid marks? Now, if this condition gives you yes, which means if it's a valid marks, what should you do? If the user has entered a valid marks, what should happen? For example, when I gave you this valid marks 50, when I gave this a valid mark on 80, what did you do? You add it. Add it to whom? You add the marks to what? Exactly. You add the marks to total. So I'm going to write here an equation saying, you can say F is a rectangle. Rectangle means condition box. Sorry, rectangle is a process. So I'm going to write an equation there. I'm going to say F is representing the equation as total is going to be equal to, we're saying update the value of total. Okay. We're saying the value of total is going to be equal. So the new value of total is, okay, that space is not enough. I'll write it down here. For F, I'm going to say, okay, total is going to be equal, which means the new value of total has to be, so total mark. The name of the variable is total marks, no? So I'm going to say total marks is going to be equal to total mark plus mark. So the meaning of this sentence we are saying is the new value of total mark variable. There's a variable called total marks. No, we are saying update the value of total mark variable. Okay, let the new value be equal to, let the new value be equal to the current value of total marks plus marks. Now, if you notice, you also did that here laterally, right? For example, when the user entered 50, you can see you added 0 plus 50. When the user entered 30, so 80, you took the current value, which is 8, well, the current value, which is 50, and you added the marks called 80, and you got 130. When the user entered 70, you added the marks called 70 to the current value of total. That's how you got 200. So indirectly, what you are doing here is for the value of current value of total, you are adding the marks entered and you form the new value of total. That same thing we mentioned in equation like this. Total marks is equal to total marks plus total marks plus mark. Is this part clear, all of you? Got it? If you have any questions, ask. That's why I'm going label by label so that you can ask the question then and there. Now, after you add the marks, now you want to go for the next subject. We are going, okay, we are done with the round 1. Now we're going to go for round 2. Okay. So to go for round 2, you can see after this, next thing is you're going to go and check the condition. Right. So we're going to go for round 2. So how we are going to specify, okay, we're done. We're going to go for the next round is, for G, you're going to mention the equation saying that subject count is equal to subject count plus 1. Now, if you're wondering why are we doing this, imagine you're running a race around the grounds. Imagine this is the starting point of the race. Imagine you have run 3 rounds around the ground. Okay. Now, when you're going for the first round, in your mind, you're having that you're in which round? You're running the first round. In your mind, you're having the idea that, okay, we're in the which round? We're in the, exactly, we're in the first round. So let's say you have completed and you're again in the start position. When you come closer to the start position, okay, now in your head, what you're going to do? Are you going to run the next round also keeping the idea that we're in the first round? Are you going to go again also keeping the idea that you're in the first round? No. Now you're going to keep the idea what? In which round? Correct. Now you're going to keep the idea that now we're in the second round. So you're going to go for the second round. Once you complete the second round, when you come closer to the start position, now you're going to be like, I'm going to go for the which round? Correct. Now I'm going to go for the third round. So you can see whenever you come for the close for the start position, you're going to increase it by 1. You're going to increase by 1. Similarly, here I'm saying subject count is equal to subject count plus 1. So then after I'm done with that, what do you call increasing? I'm now going to go for the next subject. Okay. So the purpose of when you're running a race, the purpose you're keeping the idea of how many rounds you're running. The purpose of this is to make sure that you don't run more than what's required. For example, if you have run only 3 rounds, okay, to make sure that you're running only 3 rounds and not 4 rounds or not 2 rounds. To make sure you're running the exact number of rounds, you should have a track of which round are you in. Here also to make sure we are going to get only 9 subjects marks. We're having a track of which marks are we currently focusing on. Once you're done with the first marks, we're like, okay, now we're going to go for the second marks. Now we're going to go for the next third marks, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Whenever you're done with the repetition, and whenever you're done with this, what do you call instructions, once you're done following those instructions, you're going to be like, I'm going to go for the next one, increase it by 1. Is that part clear, all of you? Understood this as well, the purpose of G? Finally, once you're done with all 9 subjects, okay, this condition is going to give you no, and you're going to go for a parallelogram. Normally in flowchart, parallelogram represents input output. Like based on that, tell me, what do you think H has to be? It's easy actually. What do you think H has to be? Finally, what are we going to do? Finally, once you're done getting the marks of 9 subjects, once you did everything, what's the output of the program? Display what? Look at the given program flows and then display what? Exactly. You're going to display the total marks. Now, in this program, what is the name of the variable we are using to store the total marks? We're going to display the total marks. Huh? Like, for example, you can remember here, you can see we are displaying that output is total marks. Your output is going to be 500 when I give these as a marks. Okay. So in this program, what is the variable I'm using to store that subject marks? The total marks. Yes, you can see total marks in the name of the variable. You can see in the what you call label F as well. Say I'm storing the value inside total mark variable. So I'm going to say display the value you have in the total mark variable. So that is what it is going to be. Is this clear, all of you? Yes or no? See, actually, programming is easy. The only thing is, you should know how your brain works. If you can decode how your brain works, finding a programming answer is very easy. Now, what I did here is, I figured out how my brain works and I converted the idea of how the brain works to reality. Simple. Put 1 mark each and tell me at least how many labels you got correct. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Out of 8 marks, if you put 1 mark each, how many labels you got correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. Is programming easier to choose than spreadsheet? No. Compared to spreadsheet is easy because spreadsheet is there is nothing much to think. In programming, you should be able to think like a computer. If you can properly think, not think like a computer, think like a human. If you can think like a human, then you can do pro. But what happens in your brain is, in your brain, you do actions without thinking. Now, for example, when I told you all this, when we are playing this scenario, when we are doing this scenario, the scenario where I was giving you 1 by 1 marks and you gave me 500, you did not have the idea that actually what's happening is you're updating the value of total by telling total is equal total plus marks entered. You did not have this idea that this is the equation of what's happening in your head. You did not have the idea that you're keeping in your mind the total marks entered. You're keeping in mind the number of subjects I entered. You did not have these ideas. Okay. So technically, for you to understand how your brain works is not very easy. If you can understand how your brain works, then doing a programming question is easy. Because basically computers are a duplicate copy of your brain. How whatever happens in how a human works, it is replicated in a computer. Simple. CPU is the processing part of the brain. Do you have the memory registers as well? So if you can figure out how your brain works, do you explain database question? We have already done the database question. Man, here I explained it. We gave marks as well. That was a question we did before 7 o'clock. Okay, so with that, we're done for this day. I mean, we're done for the day. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask. Others, you can leave. But about HTML is easy. Those are easy questions. Programming, you have to think like a human, a bit deeper. Your thinking capacity has to be very good. Think out of the box, basically. So if you can think properly, go for programming. Natha, do the remaining one. HTML, spreadsheet, database. You're a human, right? Not a computer. Actually, I'm a human. Okay. You're only not a human. That's a problem. Okay, Sapal, what's a bit, there's a question B. Shoot. I did not notice it. If a mark says not in the range 0 to 100 is entered by mistake, the statement invalid marks must be printed. For this place, for this, the place where the above flowchart should be changed indicated by dash lines. Yes. Write only the pseudocode segment in your answer sheet by insert the relevant application to that position. Okay, they're asking only the what you call pseudocode. It would have been something like this. Again, sorry for not giving an answer earlier, but yeah, it would have been something like this. If marks is greater than or equal to 0 and marks is less than or equal to 100, Then total mark is equal to total mark plus mark, else display invalid mark end if. This will be the answer for the question B. Exactly, Lida. Out of 7 questions in part 2, must 5 questions be done? First question compulsory. Along with the first question, you can choose 4 more questions. Schedule pages disappeared. Are you sure? No, sure, no. Send me a screenshot to me. I'll just check. Check Safari. I will let you know later. Shakir, go and watch yesterday's recording. The answer for that is there. Umer, that means there is no other lessons you have purchased. If you have purchased, it should. Oh, no, wait. That means there is error. I will check. I'll check. Umer, I'll check after this. That. Is ICD and society easier than flowchart? It's like this. ICD and society question is a theoretical question. So if you're a person who is very good at by hearting stuffs and writing answers, go for it. But if you're a person who is good in practical thinking, then go for programming. You identify your pros and cons. Are you a person who can by heart stuffs? Basically, are you a person who's good in science? Or are you a person who's good in maths? If you're a person who's good in maths better than science, go for programming. If science is better than maths, go for ICD and society. Because science is more like a theoretical stuffs and maths is like a more practical stuff. It's not refresh issue, right? There should be some error in your something. I think I know the issue. I'll just check it. Can imagine. Today you don't have. Do you have any other classes, Umair? We do the online free paper class on March 22nd. March 22nd, your exam will be started, no? So there is no purpose being then. I think the last week will be the week before that exam. Okay, let me check your question, Shafan. Science paper class. Ah, wait. I think there is issue in that only then. Let me check. 11.5, right? I don't think there should be not there. I'll check that later. Look, man, the answer will be probably I gave here. 2 marks for this. Yeah, you can purchase, you can view it from there and for now see. After class, I will check it. Yes. So your question was this. Match the descriptions label P2S with the correct terms from the labels given and write the relevant term against each label. Okay. A protocol for email transition. For email, you use SMTP. So AP is representing SMTP. And the protocol used for transferring web pages over the internet. To transfer web pages, we use HTTP protocol. So Q is representing HTTP. And a unique identifier for a device. So in the internet, every device is uniquely identified using its IP address. So this is talking about IP address. The address of a specific web page. Every web page you go, you can uniquely identify it using its URL. So URL is SMTP, HTTP, IP address, URL. Any questions you have here? No. In Roman number 2, choose from the examples given in the list. Write down the label of the suitable example for each blah, 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 blah. Okay, protocol. Out of the given answers, the protocol we have here is TCP/IP. So number slash label. So number 1, F. And second is example for IP address. So example for IP address we have is A. Normally in IP address, you can see there are 4 values. And between 4 values, there's a dot. We call this notation as dotted decimal notation. And in between this, we have 4 values. Every value will range between 0 to 255. Okay. Anyways, that's 2. 3 is example for email address. So example for email address we have is D. The reason G is wrong is in G, the at symbol is not there. In email address, always at should be there here. So that's why G is wrong. The correct email address is D. So number 3 is D. And then number 4 is talking about domain name. Here, domain name we have is xyz.example.com. Okay, this is the domain name basically. So number 4 is G. So this domain name has a subdomain as well. XYZ is actually the subdomain. The whole thing you call as domain name. In this domain name, XYZ is called a subdomain. .com is called the top level domain. Why can't we take B? B is not a domain name. B is a URL. So number 5 is talking about URL. So B is talking about URL. And then number 6 is talking about operating system. So in the given answers, the operating system we have is H. So remaining answers, C, Java. Java is actually a programming language, a high-level programming language. And then E is a service of the internet. And then, yeah, other answers we have used. No? So the marks would be probably, how many questions are there? It looks like a 2 marks each question. So here half marks each. And here it looks like a, again, 1 to 6. Again, half marks each into 6. So here you get a total of, so half marks in 4. No? So here you get a total of 2 marks. Here you get a total of 3 marks. Out of 5, how much you got? Three. Any questions? How many breaks will you give on the 28th? Why, man? Why? Obviously, for all the prayers you'll be getting. And along with the Jumma, you'll be getting the lunch break as well. So, yeah. Okay. So as there's no other questions, I'm going to end the meeting. This is you can WhatsApp me and get them clarified. Have a nice day.